Hello, and welcome to something slightly different. I was thinking that maybe some people were interested in knowing how these videos are made. So here's a short video of making videos. It's basically the editing process for let's compare Commodore 64 versus Amiga creatures video. So initially I pre-cut individual sections of the different videos, so I have a workable video clip, and then I usually render them so I can adjust volumes and things like that individually for the entire video clip if that's what I want to do. Makes it much easier instead of having the individual clips cut into 200 chunks and then have to manually adjust volumes and whatnot at an individual level. And of course, when you cross cut and all sorts of things, it becomes a bit wonky. So it's much better just having the individual files in full blocks. In order to make the split, I need to go in and set some keyframes so that the screens fade out one, fade into the top. Let's screw up slightly. Haven't done this for a while. One fade, it's called zooming in, going to the top, and the other video zooming in, going to the bottom. Always remember to save the new positions so it remembers it, and it's something I do after I put up the Amiga clip, is to make sure to set the ease in or ease out, whatever it's called. It just makes the transition slightly smoother. The Amiga videos tends to be of a much higher volume than the Commodore 64 videos, so I usually do some audio or volume adjustment, and this turns out not to be enough, which I test later. But anyway, as you can see, I will be doing exactly the same thing about doing a zoom in, moving position kind of thing, which I think makes it look a lot more smart, if you want. Going back, making sure that it's a smooth transition, and then test, 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 test. Every single little adjustment you make sure that the cuts are looking natural, that the movement is what you want it to be, that the volumes and whatnot is as you want them to be. I cannot emphasize enough, if you are into editing, you need to test and retest and retest to make absolutely sure that it looks decently. When it comes to the audio being played, I had already predefined 1 minute per system version. So I just set up a title because it's easier to do it this way, and then remove them afterwards, because you can cut the clips or you can cut the entire movie. And I just find it better to set up the first at 1 minute sections and then do a movie cut, which cuts across all the tracks, and then just progress it 1 minute at a time and do another cut for each section, and then remove the titles that doesn't need to be shown at whatever given point. I could also put them in manually and alternate them and just put them on one track, but you know what? It's just as easy doing it this way. It could have been more efficient, I'm fully aware of that, but I decided to do it this way. And because I decided that the Commodore 64 version is the original version, it should play its audio first, I mute alternating clips to make absolutely sure that there's no sound coming from the other version. Once that is done, it's time to remove the individual blocks of titles that doesn't need to be shown. Don't worry, I do use the keyboard shortcut after the first one. I just want to show what I was doing. So, next up is the more finicky part where you want to make sure that it doesn't just pop up clonk clonk. So doing some adjustments so that when there's a changeover in sound and in sound basically, that the version fits in. And of course, because the Commodore 64 version ends up running longer than the Amiga version, there was no point in it running only using half the screen. So I did a quick zoom out again to make sure it made use of the full screen. And of course, always test, test, test. I cannot emphasize that enough. It has to be tested left, right, and center to make absolutely sure that everything works the way. That's how I do things anyway. Putting the time to adjust the sound, because of course we want it to fade in and fade out so it doesn't just jump on top of each other. So you have the Commodore 64 sound and then suddenly the Amiga sound and then suddenly the Commodore 64 sound. So I know it's finicky, but I do like to make sure that there's a proper fading in and fading out. Again, testing that it sounds correctly and then it looks correct and that things matches up the way you want them to. Doing a fade out because I intend to put something in. I probably spend more time testing than I really should, but at the end of the day, I know that the quality of videos I make can only be so high, and I want to make sure that I give them the best I can do. So, always safe, especially when you try to do something funky, like I just did. This part is not so funky, I just wanted to have a useful screen where I could put my forward into. So, just make sure that it's stretched to 16:9. And then set a base duration. I usually use 30 seconds. If I spend less time, I can always pull it back. So then, of course, transitions, fading in and crossfading. And I decided to do a crossfade into the split video clip, but you know what? It gave me a lot of issues, so I just end up chickening out and just putting in a normal fade. It works just as fine. It looks more professional if you do it the other way, but yeah, it's shifted everything. So it would have been an extremely finicky job trying to get things back online, and I just reloaded my saved project and did the adjustments instead. Hence, always save. So, just to make absolutely sure that we are on the same page, that some people who might find things unpleasant, they have a decent warning. I decided to put a notification in about the last two clips, or specifically the first of them. The second one is not too bad, but you know, I want to make absolutely sure that people were aware that it may or may not bother them. So I just put this notification in, so people can't say they weren't warned. Again, testing that everything looks the way it's supposed to. I spent an awful lot of time testing. That's who I am. And then basically just finishing touches, adding the last torture chamber clip, making sure that the volume is adjusted down to the level I wanted to. do a crossfade between the Commodore 64 and Amiga clip, testing that looks natural, and then adding finishing touches, my end of video, if you like this video kind of thing, put on, and then crossfade it out of that. So that was a little look on how this specific video was edited. I had an advantage knowing exactly what I wanted to do, but it can take an awful lot of time if you are working as you progress through the video. So on that note, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.